Hi, I'm Ramshiva Lakshmanan.
Hi, I'm Salman.
Hi, I'm Yufei Zhao.
Hi, I'm Arsh.
Yo, I didn't see you there. My name's Aftab. Oi, Nick, go long.
Good kick, Aftab. My name's Nick.
He is Brian.
And I'm Sharmaine, and in this vlog, we're going to be talking about technical, social, and regulatory approaches for a more resilient, robust, and reliable future in water and wastewater treatment.
In this first chapter, you'll get to explore more about the technical side of centralized versus decentralized water treatment. But before getting into that, it is very essential that you get the basics right. A centralized water treatment is the conventional way that has been followed for the past 100 years in wastewater management. All the wastewater that is being generated in a city is collected and brought into a single location where the wastewater undergoes several processes like flocculation, sedimentation, filtration, disinfection, and it is again distributed into our households. That's how we get our water. On the other hand, with changing times arises newer challenges that requires out of the box thinking, and sometimes you need to think more than conventional ways to solve a problem. Two main problems with the conventional way of centralized management system is the actual size of the plant itself. Depending on the size, it can take anywhere up to 5 to 10 years, and if the corresponding region is experiencing an economic boost and eventually population growth, then even before the plant is opened, it faces a severe shortage and it requires frequent upgrades. The Blue Plains Water Treatment Facility that was opened in 1938 in Washington DC faced a similar situation in 1959 due to globalization. Another big failure that the centralized wastewater treatment plants face is that it is not so well prepared for extreme weather events like flood or cyclone. There is no backup plan available due to large scale of the treatment, and this is why decentralized treatment plants are a better option in some cases. I have talked a lot about this in the blog, and you are going to be knowing more about in the subsequent chapters as well, so keep reading the blog.
So, while I go on this walk, let's take a gander at one of the local gems that's currently acing the decentralized game. So, Jamestown, Rhode Island, USA. This community had a brilliant management approach to which the area of focus was on parts of the system or their treatment systems that needed more focus. That meant finding out which repairs were needed, what replacements would work, and eventually plan for new developments. They were actually never an established community. They had many issues. The most issues, as a matter of fact, out of 14 case studies that was held by EPA, they had problems with water contamination in their in-household wells and also essentially a lackluster management system. With more and more people, there really comes a need for systems to keep up with the ever-changing times. The ultimate goal is for small local communities to follow a fairly simple process that they can implement based on their current needs. The EPA actually has a playbook outlining the various management approaches to implement and help even the most vulnerable communities become sewage treatment champions. They've got everything for those with more established communities all the way down to communities with more challenging situations. Now, wastewater isn't just a flush and forget deal. It's a game of building resilience, robustness, and reliability within our treatment systems and our ever-growing communities.
If we want to build a more resilient water future, we need to utilize new technology around us to improve our current water treatment systems. Utilizing nanotechnology would be a groundbreaking approach to revolutionize water treatment. They have high surface area, high reactivity, and strong mechanical properties. They can be used in water remediation for adsorption, biosorption, nanofiltration, disinfection, pathological control, and more. They operate on a tiny scale and have the capabilities of improved contaminant removal due to its large surface area to volume ratio, allowing separation of contaminants at very low concentrations, therefore increasing the reliability of treatment plants. They also have the ability to enhance monitoring through nanosensors. This allows early detection of issues and rapid implementation of corrective measures, increasing the robustness of treatment plants. Some nanoparticles used for purification are zero-valent metal nanoparticles, metal oxide nanoparticles, carbon nanotubes, and nanocomposites. Study is currently in place to investigate the biological effects of materials further.
Hi, today we are going to talk about two cases, the Flint water crisis and the Namibia wastewater recycling successful case, and to see how social measures influenced the outcome of these cases. Well, the Flint water crisis was characterized by a lack of public education and awareness. Government's decision to change the water supply source without adequate treatment measures led to late contamination. Well, the government's absurdity in decision-making and disregard for public health triggered community discontent. Well, on the other hand, Namibia's success in recycling wastewater for drinking water is underpinned by effective public education, community participation, government support, and a shared environmental consciousness. Well, public education plays an important role in ensuring communities' acceptance and reducing resistance. Well, community engagement has been fostered through open dialogue, allowing the community to voice concerns and build public trust. The government's unwavering commitment and continuous dialogue have further solidified trust, creating a foundation for sustainable solutions. Well, additionally, a shared environmental awareness highlights the importance of conserving precious resources.
Another example of a social failure of water and wastewater infrastructure management is the indirect potable reuse scheme, which was introduced in Toowoomba in 2006. So in the early 2000s, Toowoomba, a rural city in Queensland, faced significant water shortages, with dams dropping to roughly 20% capacity. The local government proposed using recycled wastewater to replenish the town's water supplies. However, the project faced significant backlash and resistance from the public due to the stigma of drinking recycled wastewater. Inadequate communication, a failed public engagement campaign, and media sensationalism all contributed to the project's failure, which ultimately led the local government to abandon the project after a failed referendum. 2 years later, the town's dam levels hit record lows, resulting in extreme water use restrictions for the entire city.
So continuing on from the trend of failures, another social failure relates to the Citrum River in Indonesia. This river is known as one of the most polluted rivers in the world, and each day hundreds and thousands of tons of waste and wastewater is dumped into the river from residents and textile industries. The river is important for many residents as they rely on it for agricultural purposes and daily activities. The river has had many adverse effects on its residents. Crops are impossible to grow, and on top of this, the lead levels are over 1,000 times higher than the acceptable standard, which is due to the dumping from those textile facilities. Many social factors are the cause of the high levels of pollution, and to highlight a few, the poverty and high population density results in more volumes of water being dumped. There is an overall lack of education and awareness amongst the community about correct management techniques, and also there is insufficient community engagement between the government and the residents themselves.
So, as discussed in the Toowoomba case study, stigmatisation and negative public perception can prevent the implementation of recycled wastewater. Some approaches to mitigate this effect include incorporating indirect potable reuse where possible. So this means passing the recycled wastewater through natural barriers, such as aquifers, to help with the psychological effects of drinking recycled wastewater. Public demonstrations, another thing. So comparative taste tests of regular and recycled water can help reduce the stigma, and it gives the public a first-hand experience of what their recycled water might be like. Transparency and clear communication, that's another thing that failed severely in the Toowoomba case, as this is very important for public trust. So the SDGs that these approaches align with include SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, as well as SDG 6, Clean Water and Sanitation. Both of these stem from the fact that water recycling helps to diversify water sources, adding to the sustainability of a community.
Many social approaches can be adopted to improve the resilience and robustness of water and wastewater management. Valuing community voices is very important, relating back to the failure Yufei discussed earlier. the public outrage was ignored during the Flint water crisis. It is therefore important to listen to community and stakeholder voices before making big government decisions around wastewater management systems. With relation to the Citron River that I discussed earlier, another social approach could be to involve behavioural change campaigns, which could be implemented for big textile companies to encourage correct wastewater disposal, rather than dumping it into these important rivers. In addition to this, community engagement could be increased when it comes to managing these important rivers. Incentives, whether that's money or not, could be provided by the governments to residents who don't dispose of their waste into these rivers, especially in countries that heavily rely on them. Overall, the failure case studies highlighted in this chapter have allowed us to develop many social approaches to enhance the water and wastewater industry.
Chapter 3 is all about regulatory approaches and how they have impacted water engineering practices both successfully and unsuccessfully. Let's talk about Melbourne's IWM strategy. This case study showcases how regulations, collaboration and innovation can help a city achieve remarkable balance between water conservation, responsible use and sustainable practices. The city introduced the Melbourne Integrated Water Management Strategy, which brought together government agencies, water utilities, local councils and the community. This laid the foundation of knowledge sharing and data collection, and resulted in a more holistic understanding of Melbourne's water system. The city captures urban rainwater, treats it thoroughly, and then uses it for non-drinking purposes such as irrigation and industry, reducing the reliance on drinking water sources. So overall, regulatory bodies have been instrumental in Melbourne's IWM success. They've been involved in a whole heap of things, which I cannot memorize, so I'll just read off this list. So they've been involved in policy development, in setting water quality standards, in permitting and compliance oversight, in financial support, in urban planning regulations, in community engagement, research funding, climate resilience planning, and fostering collaboration. So we've seen how regulations can impact water engineering practices positively, but let's see what happens when it has the opposite effect.
Today I will talk about Walkerton water crisis and Melbourne's integrated water management. In May 2000, Walkerton, a small town in Ontario, Canada, experienced a waterborne outbreak that affected thousands of residents. The contamination of the town's water supply with E. coli and bacteria led to deaths beyond the immediate health impacts. The crisis eroded public trust in the safety of the water supply. The root causes of Walkerton water crisis can be traced back to several regulatory shortcomings and operational errors, which are lack of water testing protocols, inadequate oversight and inspection, defect operating system training, communication failures, weak emergency response planning. Here are some approaches to tackle with this problem for future, like enhanced water testing and monitoring, improved oversight and inspection, operator training and certification, transparent communication. Overall, though many strict regulations do exist around the world, many less fortunate countries have minimal regulations due to several factors such as money and education.
Based on the regulatory approaches mentioned by Arshdeep, I'm going to quickly run through the SDGs that are related to each approach. The enhanced water testing and monitoring approach is linked to SDGs 3 and 6. Improved oversight and inspection is closely related to SDG 9. SDG 4 is mostly applicable to operator training and certification. And then for transparent communication and emergency response planning, we've got SDGs 16, 3, and 11. So we've seen that by enhancing water testing, improving oversight, ensuring operator training, fostering transparent communication, and implementing emergency response plans, communities can work towards SDGs that relate to clean water, health, education, good governance, and sustainable cities.
So to sum it all up, from the case studies that we have analysed, we have found various technical, social and regulatory approaches that can help improve wastewater treatment in terms of their robustness, reliability and resilience. These approaches also very much align with the Sustainable Development Goals, and by tackling these challenges, ultimately we would want our systems to be actively progressing towards a brighter future for those generations to come. Cheers. See ya.